Getting into the economy at 4 and what we've been told that needs to happen in as a necessity to build this economy that's going to be robust and get us to the place where 2060 is then a reality in the way it's currently being touted to be. We've been told that in order to get there, that you have to keep your economy growing at 10% every year for the next 35 years. So the conversation that we want to have this hour is, what is it going to take to get you growing your economy by 10%? Just to get to 10%. We're not talking about every year. To get to 10%, and then we can be talking. To help us out in that conversation is the man who was many things were named after. Odhiambo Ramogi is an economist, and he joins us in the Situation Room this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Awesome. Glad to be back.
Thank you.
Always what the young people called a vibe. Always a vibe being at SpiceFM.
It's always a vibe.
Yeah, always a vibe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
So Dennis has taken us to another interesting country this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The country is Mauritania. Now, let me tell you what they have. Mauritania have a lot of fish.
Do they have Ramogi Hills in Mauritania?
Wait first. Under Ramogi Hills in Mauritania, they have sardines, also known as omena.
No, but the omena is not your typical omena.
Don't worry.
It lacks freshwater lake flavor.
They still have omena. They also have mackerel, octopus, and tuna. And they're also rich in gold, copper, iron ore, phosphate, and gypsum. And all that is carried by the longest and heaviest train in the continent called the iron ore train that helps now ship everything else for export outside the country.
Nice.
The proverb they give us this morning: if all seeds were to grow, then no one could follow the path under the trees. If all the seeds were to grow, then no one could follow the path under the trees. How would you interpret it?
The Mauritanians are very thoughtful and thought-provoking. The message I would get out of their proverb this morning is, one, not all seeds will grow.
Yep.
And it's not entirely a bad thing. There might be value in some seeds not growing. And so, for example, not all presidents will do well. There might be a lesson for us in some presidents not doing so well, like the one we currently have, so that then we learn the art of chasing the midterm.
Sawa basi.
Hapo tuko sasa. Sips coffee.
But sip your coffee. But I hope I got what
you interpreted well. Interpretation, you can never be wrong, because it is your interpretation.
In Bible understanding, we say there's comprehension, and then there's interpretation, and then there's application.
Yes.
Right. I was kind enough to give you application. Whether you liked the application or not
is up to me.
Is up to you.
Okay.
All right. Vision 2060, and we're having taking a look at it from an economic lens this morning. What will it take to attain Kenya's Singapore dream? It would appear as though this is now being accepted as Kenya's Singapore dream. But interestingly enough, there's a panel of experts. The panel of experts, constituted by the president himself, has said that realizing the vision would require a multi-pronged radical strategy, strategies with a focused administration. Okay? This includes cutting down on public debt, supporting the private sector, slaying the dragon of graft, governing financial discipline, and increasing investment in infrastructure. These are all economic elements, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Japanese economist and former advisor to the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga, Professor Hiroyuki Hino, said, "I am told that Kenyans are skeptical. They believe Singapore is too high a target for Kenya to reach in this generation. I agree that reaching Singapore's level of development in the next 30 to 40 years would be difficult. Singapore has an economy roughly 6.5 times larger than Kenya's, despite having barely a tenth of Kenya's population. Its GDP per capita is nearly 40 times higher than that of Kenya, with a GDP per capita of $80,000 each. That's 40 times what Kenya has. Hino spoke and he said that one of the things that you need to deal with is deal with runaway big money corruption that was among key factors that would derail Kenya's Singapore match. And I quote, "Corruption damages the economy and weakens the social fabric. Curbing corruption would be truly transformative."
Right.
He didn't talk about big mega infrastructure projects. He didn't talk about building. He said deal with corruption. Deal with that first, and then you can start to go into these other places. When you look at the economy, if you don't deal with the holes where a lot of the money is going, then perhaps you can't deal with the problem. Would you agree with Hino?
He was on point, significantly so, because I'm really uncomfortable with us calling it the Singapore Dream. But now that it's here, let's discuss it at that level. The so-called Singapore Dream tends to take the economic realities of Singapore and hope that we will attain to the same, hope that we will aspire to get to the economic level Singapore is, without putting into perspective the governance and structural issues that we need to put in place before we get there. In other words, someone is telling you that you must build a building similar to KICC, but they do not want you to talk about the regulatory principles in place. Yep. They do not want you to talk about the budget. They do not want you to talk about how big the budget is inflated and whether there are holes in that budget that needs to be filled. So Professor Hino was on point. But now, perhaps then to go back to the Vision 2060. In many ways, Vision 2030 is maturing in the year 2030, as the name suggests. And so we must commence the conversation of what happens beyond 2030. I was in a room somewhere when the Kipra team mentioned that they had already started talking or thinking about the Kipra is Kenya Institute of Public Policy Research. And they had already started thinking about beyond 2030. The initial idea was to align our vision beyond 2030 to the African Union Agenda 2063. So then the expectation would be we go with the same 2063, which is essentially 100 years after 1963, where most African countries got their independence. Kenya has deviated, but not too far away, by 3 years, because they have opted to go for 2060. Now, is this perhaps the right time to have that conversation? And my submission is it is not. Because really, and I know politicians do not have the luxury of shame, but it is shameless to make our future and someone's political tool to win an election or to win a re-election. And that's how this looks like. Because at this time, we cannot have a bipartisan conversation and start really breaking down the document honestly. Those in government, what we are broad-based, will be supporting almost everything in that document because they do not want to be seen as standing against the president's proposal to the country. Those in the opposition will not want to be identified with any proposal in that document because they be seen as giving President Ruto political capital. And so then a conversation, a national conversation that is supposed to be all-inclusive, bipartisan, sober, and unbiased, has taken a very political orientation that makes it even very difficult to have an agreement on something as simple as the number of years that should be in that vision.
Yeah.
So that would be my submission. One, the timing is off. Two, we cannot talk about the brick and mortar, the economic, without talking about the governance question as regards setting that vision.
But even then, as 2030 is coming to maturity, the conversations, as we've already established, had started. Kipra already were looking into it, right? And many have equally suggested that whilst we have to look at Kenya's future beyond 2030, that it should be left to individuals who already are having these conversations, individuals who understand the economy and what it takes for us to end up there. Because you'll talk about Kipra and its research, you'll talk about Kenya Bureau of Statistics in terms of numbers and what needs to be done. You equally have to have this conversation with financial institutions because you want to get to 2060, the things you want to put in place. How are financial institutions in terms of lending money, in terms of making sure the economy is plugging into these conversations? You equally have to talk about MSMEs because we talk about job creation in the country. Where do majority of Kenyans do fall? MSMEs conversation has to happen, but most importantly, mwananchi must buy into these conversations and be comfortable to it. Professor Hino said, for us to end up there, mwananchi have to buy into this. Why are we choosing the political direction as opposed to a professional, more engaging, all-encompassing conversation that makes sense?
We are choosing it because we want re-election, but I'll end there. Let me start from... You've gotten it, like you are on point. The conversation right now must be institutional. Mm-hmm. I would be happy if Kipra was doing their research. I would be happy if KNBS is providing the data. I would be happy if, for example, there is an economics department in the Republic of Kenya charged with the duty of just coming up with the economic models. Mm-hmm. How would this look like if we implemented it? Or rather, how would this look like? Give us a working model that would take us for the next 30 years in our planning. I would be really happy if that conversation was happening at an institutional level, so that now by the time we are coming to have a national conversation, as it were, there's significant work. Kipra has published their document. KNBS has published their document. The university in question has also published their model. And we have several documents to just interact with by the time we are having the national conversation, knowing this is a bipartisan process spearheaded by the institutions, not a political one. And if that work would then be availed to, if those documents would be availed around January of 2028, after the political temperatures have cooled down, whether this administration is re-elected or not, then you find that conversation is a very rich conversation because we are looking at the proposals soberly. Mm-hmm. We understand that these ones would affect our future. Those of us will be there, will be there. Those of us will not be there, will not be there. But it will affect everyone's future. It is a very sober conversation. But you see, we still need to go to the people because the Constitution today provides for public participation. So yes, there is still need to go to the people. But you go to the people, one, with a leader that is having approval ratings that make for trust to be possible. Because this administration has what we call trust deficit. Anything they propose is looked at like, what are they trying to do this time around? You saw some of the comments around the Finance Bill 2026. Some of the things that people thought were there initially and removed. And so after they were removed, we were still having the debate of whether they are there or not. And in fact, by the time the document is being passed, some MPs didn't even know what's in that document. And some leaders, I remember Faith of LSK saying that at that time, it wasn't even clear what has been passed by the time that they were passing it. And that's the environment we're operating in. Whatever you propose to the public is looking at this funnily. One, because in the last 4 years, there have been lies. In the last 4 years, there have been a rundown of the rule of law. And in the last 4 years, every policy that has come seems to target the welfare of mwananchi negatively. And so for this reason, then you find mwananchi is wary of any proposal from this administration. And this is the administration that wants to insist on proposing Vision 2060. I always make at least have some buy-in, make sure everyone is.
Okay, like do one, for example. If you had fulfilled on one, then it would then be easy to come back to the people and say, okay, well, you see, this is the trajectory that we want to go on. And then because I have been able to fulfill 1, 2, 3, then we can go from there. And that's unfortunately that when you have a population of people that is dealing on some very high levels of not just mistrust, but distrust.
Right.
It's significantly worse than mistrust.
It is. You see, mistrust is I can be with you in the same room.
Yeah.
What you say, I'll give you the benefit of doubt. And distrust is I don't even want to be with you in the same room because I am convinced you are not a good person. And that's where we are. There is a survey that was done, I think, by Mzalendo Trust that indicated that the Kenyans, when Kenyans were asked to what extent has this administration fulfilled their promises, only 11%. 11%. If you got that, I don't know about the new grading system now, but nowadays, if you got 11% in an exam,
you would not even be below expectation. You would not even have approached below expectation.
You are below.
No, you don't even. Okay, so there's below expectation.
Right.
There is approaching expectation. There is meeting expectation.
And there's nowhere.
Is above expectation.
And
now,
exceeding expectation.
Now, below expectation is the lowest.
Yeah.
Right.
With 11%, you're not even approaching below expectation.
You're nowhere.
Wait, so he's not kind.
No, I was trying to be more diplomatic.
But in our days,
in the grading system, you don't exist, so you're nowhere.
Yeah, in our days, that's an E.
Okay.
That's an E. You cannot ask to go to the next class with an E. And this administration is asking to go to the next class. He's asking us to talk about the subjects, the curriculum of the next class with an E. Because the curriculum of the next class is Agenda 2060. You see, fulfill 2030. Come on, at least with a C. Give us 56%. And then after you fulfill 2030, see, I am the right person to talk about 2060. Bro, you've not even fulfilled the things in the last 4 years, the things you said you will do. And you are at 11%. And you want to talk about the things the next administration will do and the next administration after the next administration will do. I don't think this is the right administration to have that conversation. And if they are, then I don't think this is the right time.
I mean, because, we're looking at 2060, SAWA 2060. But I'm also not hearing short term, medium term, long term, things that must be done. Let's go to Singapore. You don't like it, but let's go to Singapore.
Let's go to Singapore.
Lee Kuan Yew, what did he do first? Ended corruption. What did he do? Invested in education. Healthcare. Addressed that. Food security was there. Oh, heck. He equally decided because we are going manufacturing, we do not have oil and fuel, but we will be the storage for the entire world. And all that have played role in Singapore being where it is. The fact that it's size of Nairobi, 6 million people, pretty much the same thing, right? But it's the model we're looking at. How are we going to Singapore if at all over 200,000 students never went to school grade 10? When healthcare, we are a sick nation. When you talk about food security right now, we don't even know what we have in our granaries and where the farmers even managed to harvest anything. Because why? Kumekuwa na jua. How are we heading to Singapore with a healthy, hungry, and angry nation?
That's a good place to start that conversation. I was looking at some of the things in the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza. Allow me to bore you with those details, and tell you the key focus areas of the manifesto. The first one was agriculture and food security. The input subsidies, make sure there is access to credit, ensure there is value addition. That was what was proposed. What we've seen is they have kept the promise of input subsidies, so that there's a subsidy on production. But even then, it's for some people, because some people in my area have not gotten, and the ones that came, kuna jamaa alikula alichukua. And so on that one, out of the three things he said he'll do, he has done half. And then there is affordable housing. That which is the flagship project.
Yes.
Yeah, Kenya Kwanza administration. We were to get 250,000 affordable housing units annually. Annually. Keyword is annually. That will create jobs and there will be a good funding mechanism.
And eradicate slums.
Yeah. And eradicate slums.
Yeah.
So far, in the 4 years, and there's only 1 year remaining. In the 4 years, we've only seen 8,000 to 13,000 housing units completed and keys handed over to owners. And that is after taking a lot of money from Kenyans, and that money that tax has affected, disposable income of Kenyans. Then there's micro, small, and medium enterprises. We are talking about the 4 years. The Hustler Fund was supposed to be a flagship on that front. About 50 billion being given to small enterprises annually. So far, we've managed to disperse 90 billion. That is what the reports say, up to around 28 million people. But then again, ask any small business owner, is there positive impact in their business since the Hustler administration came to power? Do they feel that this is a government for hustler? The answer will surprise you because really the evidence is out there. Then there is the universal health coverage, and they came the financing reform, the Shisha, that is supposed to make sure that we are healthy, we are okay, anybody can walk into any hospital and be treated. Don't try that at home. Utafukuzwa. Because don't try. At your, you can walk into any hospital. And even government hospitals, you don't just walk a walker. I know someone who went to this one, Mbagathi Hospital, and I was told, no, but we do not provide services.
You just don't walk a walker.
You don't walk a walker into a government facility simply because the president said. So essentially, the score is less than. So now let's talk about the things you are talking about, which is.
So, Odhiambo, you were telling us that, some elements that you wanted to look into. Let me combine that with that question about if I said I was going to do something and you gave me your vote based on that thing that you are going to do, essentially raise the profile of the majority of Kenya's people, and you didn't do that to an extent that we were expecting. Was I lying to you?
You are lying.
No, but I had an intention to do.
Yes, you are lying. And I think, I don't know which country is that has now, put in place laws that if politicians lie, they are to be jailed. Because politicians tend to lie so that they can get the vote. And if you say you're going to do something, you had the power to do so and you did not, you are lying. One of the things, the promises that President Ruto gave during the debate, the one-man debate that the media houses organized for him, was that he's going to reduce taxes on the fuel. Because, the fuel prices are packed with tax after tax after tax. And so one of the promises he gave is that he's going to reduce those taxes so that then we can be in a place where we say at least our fuel or energy costs are manageable to facilitate manufacturing, to facilitate production. He has not. The other day he said in public that education will be free for all. Then his economist goes and says, no, he didn't say it's free for all. He said fully funded. What do you mean fully funded? We've been funding our own education from time immemorial. You don't go scoring points by saying things and then after that withdrawing. The other day he said that he's going to remove taxes for people earning less than 30,000. That has not been implemented. The finance bill came and went without that being implemented. And so what we have before us is someone who cannot say the truth. There's a time you are campaigning, we can forgive you for one or two errors of judgment. But now you are in government. You are the government. And then you are giving statements that you have no intention of fulfilling. So then it is clear to all and sundry that this person does not mean well for us. Because for as long as you're lying, really, you're not meaning well for us. Let me come back to the question of the Singapore dream and clear objectives, clear milestones, a model of we will start from here, go to here, and then here. Yes, that's not there. The model is, this is where Kenya is. We are at 2,000 USD per capita. This is where Singapore is. They are at 80,000 USD per capita. Let's get there. Now, first, can you at least tell us how we'll get to 10,000 per capita? Then from 10,000, we say, all right, let's push it to 30,000. Then 30,000, let's push it to 50, then 50, 80. That plan, you don't feel it is a plan. You get the feeling it's just a narrative. It's just a dream. And Lupita said all dreams are valid. But this guy's dream is too political, too politically charged, and has no substance in terms of this is the model of how we're going to do it. Because if you asked me, and I think on this one, Sifuna and Orengo are on point. If you ask me, let's start with the rule of law and ensure that the human rights issues are settled, ensure that the governance issues are settled. Now, after they are settled, let's now come to the economic question. How can we ensure that the economic environment is conducive for investment? First, let's reduce taxes and ensure that the ease of doing business is a reality in the Republic of Kenya. And then now, after we've come from there, we put in place policies that facilitate manufacturing. We are not going to go to Singapore through agriculture as it is alone, because agriculture is suffering from climate change significantly. And beyond that also, there's the whole land question that we have not sorted. And even then, really, the land is getting smaller as the population grows. And we might need to do a lot of investment in some of the arid lands to make it more productive. So manufacturing is a clean and free ticket to where we need to go to. What policies can we put in place to ensure that that is implemented? No one is telling you that this is the from here to here to here to here. It's just, this is where we will be in Singapore. There will be industries all over. We will have technology and we will win.
Okay, so that's interesting because we've also been told that in order for you to get there in the time span, that the economy needs to grow at 10%. It needs to grow. That means it's grown to 10%. You need to grow by another. You need to be growing at 10% every year for the next 35 years for this to happen. A quick one. At what percent is Kenya's economy growing today?
Last year we posted a 4.8. Yes, growth.
Okay, so you've done everything. You've shake, up and down. You got 4.8. We need you to get to 10, right?
Yes.
And you need to do this consistently. So you cannot come down to 9%.
Right.
In order to get to this place where your per capita is at $80,000, because that's where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
That your economy then has to grow at that percent consistently. You cannot drop beyond the 10. Now, like you said, there are indicators that tell you how you can actually grow your economy.
Right.
People have done it, countries have done it, and we see that that is actually happening. And one of the big ticket items is manufacturing, like you said.
Right.
Now, KIPES was set up. KIPES was set up for this very thing. That there is the understanding that the regional areas that Kenya has been divided into by the constitution are counties. That for each regional area, there is a product, good or service that can actually be exploited economically to do this very thing that we're talking about. Whether it's molasses in Kisumu, cashew in Kwale or Kilifi, whether it is honey in Baringo, whether it is fruit in Makueni, whatever the case may be, there is something that you can do to say this is what we are going to build.
Right.
Whether you're looking at the northern part with livestock and across board, you might be surprised to know that there's even agreement between Kenya and the UAE. Bring your livestock. All you need to do is set up the, what are they called?
Abattoirs.
Thank you. And then follow this. The agreement is already there.
Yep.
So all you need to do is just follow the standard, talk to your farmers, let them start to breed, and then you have that. You pay your farmers, boom, we keep moving because you are exporting.
Right.
You're selling for profit.
Right.
They were set up. MITI was supposed to be shepherding this process. It would have been a no-brainer to then say, this is one of the ways in which we can do it. If you can do that with livestock, guess what? You can replicate it with honey, you can replicate it with fruit, you can replicate it with molasses, cashew, coconut. I mean...
Big sign, Kwale.
Why?
Macadamia.
Yeah.
In Meru and Embu,
Yes.
you can actually...
Avocado, you
can do it. So why? This is my question.
why are we not doing that?
Yes.
Partly because politicians want you poor so that they can rule over you easily. Such a thing would make you less poor and less dependent. But I think the real question is, first of all, KIPES was the real bottom-up. If there was to be a bottom-up economic transformation, it could have been through KIPES.
Yep.
Because then it meant going down there where mwananchi is and asking mwananchi, what are you doing and how can we support? And so you have a center where you consolidate all these people that are involved in that economic activity and you offer support. So there are economies of scale, large economies of large scale. So I am in the same space. Let's say I'm producing shoes. I am in the same space as someone who is producing the leather. And so the transport costs are minimal, but I'm also in the same space as someone who is actually producing clothes. So their distribution channel becomes my distribution channel because our products are similar. It's a brilliant idea. The challenge I think we had was we laid emphasis on the location as opposed to the real support items. So that then is there an economic activity, for example, in Tana River, that then we can go and say, okay, what do you guys need? Did we have a conversation with them and realize what they need was a location as opposed to financing, training, market? You understand? So that was but in terms of ideation, it was in the right place. But politicians love somewhere I can go and cut a ribbon and launch. So they were more concerned about the location. And so the second problem I think it had is we had too many at a go. So the idea is you can start with a flagship, say 7 or 5.
Okay, 1.
Or even 1. And then say, how is it working? And then now expand it to another 10 or something.
Allow me to just remind you of something, because it keeps niggling in the back of my head.
Yes.
That there was a China trip, and they came back and told us that they were going to set up, I don't know, Africa's biggest poultry in Kajiado.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I was excited for it because I thought, okay, this is great because what it would be able to do.
Right.
Because if you look at it from beginning to end, in terms of you bring in the birds, you're rearing them for eggs or you're rearing them for meat. There are people who are buying and they can buy at a cheaper price because this is essentially a government-backed project. You can hire people. You then have a turnaround. I mean, I had already seen it in my mind. It was wonderful. I don't think one bird has clucked ever since they came back from China.
No.
So these are some of the things that we're talking about that can actually grow the thing. And so the intention is good. But we all know that the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
And beyond that, is it intentions or just learned craftiness? But can I surprise you?
Okay.
We export some beef that we use in this country. We import beef.
Okay, I was going to say, I was wondering,
we're doing well. We import. We actually are exporting. That Saudi deal started with some few exports, but we are importing some of the beef we're using because there is a deficit. The demand for beef versus the supply are not matching. The supply is lower than the demand, and that's why the cost of beef has been going high. And so some of the beef we use is actually imported from the likes of Tanzania. So by the time we are getting the deal with Saudi Arabia, for example, some of us were asking, what is this about? Because yes, the deal is good, but the beef we have is not even enough for us. The gap is because we have not invested in breeding cattle.
Yep.
So that then we are depending, it's like we are depending on the natural breeding of a cow meets a cow and they breed.
Yeah.
Sorry, a bull meets a cow and they breed. What was I thinking?
I don't know. But okay.
It's okay. We move.
And out of it, then you have the breeding. So we've not, you see the way we have very good breeding done by Ken Chick. There's 100-day-old chicks, and you'll never be in a position where you're wondering, what do you mean we don't have enough chicken? Huh? We are not there as regards cattle. And I think that needs to be revisited so that then we have enough for ourselves and enough for the export. As regards poultry farming, I think it's just an issue of organization. We've not organized ourselves to do it. It's a failure.
But there was going to be support, money.
It's a failure in leadership. Maybe when I don't know who did that. Maybe if it was Moses Kuria after he left office, kuna vyenye.
When you talk about this support that you're talking about, especially that thing of poultry, I was just thinking of the feathers because I wanted to start making state-of-the-art duvets and pillows for people to buy. Awesome. Plugging into that as well, but they're letting me down as well. But anyway, hey, here we are. Let's talk about...
How comfortable are those duvets? Sorry to deviate.
Don't worry. There's technology. But let's talk about even investments themselves, like even the support that Ndu is talking about setting up poultry. FDI is one of the reasons why Singapore is where it is today. But for FDI to come, there has to be good environment to do business.
You must have economic environment.
You must have taxes that are predictable. You must have an economy that has surplus to spend. Because why am I setting up in a country where the individuals themselves can't go to hospital? The individuals are surviving on 1 meal a day. Each and every single facet that would help us propel the country to that economic dream that we want has to be fixed. We have to talk about our taxes because even the current government itself would not tell you how the taxes would look like come June next year. They would not be able to tell you. How are all these things then slowing us down, or how are they an impediment for us to realizing even Vision 2030 that has not been achieved thus far?
And again, you're on point like a full stop. The economic conversation must move from debt to tax. Not because we do not have a debt problem, because I believe, you see, Japan has bigger debt than us.
Yes.
But they are a productive economy. They are producing and so they have some savings. So by the time he's telling you he has a debt which is 140% of GDP, somewhere he has a surplus. I mean, he has some reserves that if you offset the reserves and the debt he has, his net debt to GDP could be lower than 50%. So on our end, we are not, and then some of the debt we take, like the SGR, you take a debt that takes huge amounts of money out of the country, but this debt never quite lands into the country to create the multiplier effect and to create the production that will really facilitate its repayment. But we have a tax problem. Because one, our tax is unstable. It's today you wake up, the president announces there will be 30%. I mean, people earning up to 30,000 will not have a payee. Tomorrow, his finance guy says no, but that's not possible. Today you wake up, there is a housing levy. Tomorrow, the new administration comes and says, what was this guy's thinking? So that instability around our fiscal policy needs to be addressed, so that then we are at a point where we say our tax policy for the next 5 years is this, or our tax policy moving forward is this. We have a national tax policy, but it does not have the rails that we need it to have on which our economy can run. It's out there, like it's very descriptive of a wishful end we wish to have, but it does not give us the modalities of what we hope to see. And finally, as regards the economic environment and attracting investors, it's not even so much about the human capital. Because then that might feel like unaonea huruma watu, the people who are working for you, and maybe investors hawana huruma. It is so much about, do these people have buying power? Because if they have buying power, then I have a market. I can invest knowing I will get something out of it. If they don't have buying power, people are struggling to eat. People are struggling to pay rent. People are struggling to survive. And you want to bring them some funny things that could be considered luxury at some point. And you think they will buy. They will not buy. And this is why some people are moving out of this economy into another, where at least there is a robust economy that is active. I was surprised someone is saying because Kenyans are buying soda, so they are doing well. And the food basket is funny. Maybe a few years I could afford ugali matumbo. Now I cannot. So I buy a soda, 2 sodas, and we share with a friend na ngumu. Which is a lot lower than ugali matumbo mbili. So really buying of soda does not necessarily mean that the economy is doing well.
They say economy is stupid, and I would say that even that assumption is just economy stupid, I'm sorry to say. But then again, at the end of the day, with the visions that we have, it is mwananchi who will help you and must help you achieve that dream. Whichever way you want to look at it, because they are your greatest resource in achieving, if it's on taxation, they're the ones who will pay the taxes. If it's getting into manufacturing and jobs, it is them who will plug into that. If it's mwananchi as well, just giving you advice and feedback on what needs to be done, public participation, it is mwananchi that must be there at the front seat to help you push that idea. It is not we sat in a certain room somewhere and decided it's Vision 2060. Mwananchi must plug in. Why are we leaving them behind and expect that this dream will be achieved?
Well, if you ask the people in government, they'll tell you, well, we're not leaving them behind. There's public participation. But
for ground?
Kwa ground, vitu ni different. And then, public participation ya Kenya of late is, let's hear what they say, but we know what we want to do. So, and then what we want to do supersedes what they say. And I saw that during the housing levy thing in 2023. I saw that in 2024 when the finance bill came and we told them this thing is not good. They insisted until the young people convinced them in using other means. But after the rest of us had shouted horse. So it is indeed important to have mwananchi to drive the agenda. As it is right now, I don't think it's mwananchi driving the agenda 2060. Nor is it mwananchi driving agenda 2030, the one that is yet to lapse itself. Yeah.
And a final question, is it clear that the solution to this, economically at least, is right here, and that it just takes goodwill to then be able to just get some of these things in place?
Absolutely. I was looking at, our revenue today versus our revenue by the time Kibaki is leaving office. Man, we have better revenue. We have a bigger economy, and there's greater potential. We are producing about 1 million people into the job market every year, people who can take up responsibility. That is an opportunity that, if well utilized, can take us places. If we are to move forward, then it needs to be a skill-based and people-centered approach, as opposed to a top-down approach I've observed with this Vision 2060.
All right. That's what it looks like. And then to be very clear on the position, you can be apolitical in building an economy. You can. And these are the directions in which we hope that if you started to see some movement towards just getting some, or even just completing some of the things that you said that you would do, perhaps we would see some kind of positive trajectory.
Right.
Well, it's a wait and see kind of thing, and a hope, and that you can actually make a change around some of these things. Ramogi Odhiambo is an economist and has joined us in this conversation this morning. The conversations continue. We have to say a big thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here this morning.
Yeah.
Don't walk a walker.
Don't walk a walker.
Walk.
That's something that you can walk away with today.
Don't be cheated. And then you walk into a new government hospital at the president said, Utashanga. Utashanga sana.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.